Okay, so I finally watched the first episode of Strange New Worlds, and I'm going to get into some minor details, but it's going to be relatively spoiler free, I think. But just, fair warning just in case. And yeah, people have been telling me to check it out, but I've been kind of putting it off because after watching season 2 of Picard, I just wasn't sure I could handle any more CBS Star Trek. But a lot of people are excited about this show, and it seems like a lot of people who typically dislike new Star Trek are finding things to like about this show. So I had to give it a shot. And while I can't say it's worse than Picard, it's not that much better. I just don't see the appeal of this show. People say it's kind of a return to the classic Star Trek feel and format. And yeah, in some ways, I guess that's true, but it's basically a knockoff. It doesn't feel like Star Trek to me. It feels like it's trying to emulate Star Trek. And you might be saying there's just no pleasing me. But listen, just look at Captain Pike. Captain Pike in this show, he is basically just a shittier version of Kirk. He's from Middle America. He lives on a farm. He rides horses. He cooks his own breakfast, and he bangs. So you have all the surface level Kirk shit right there. The only thing that makes him not like Kirk is the lack of any kind of depth. And you might think he has some depth, but what is it really? He's a guy who believes he knows exactly when he's going to die, and he's moping around about it. I don't know exactly what happened on Discovery. I bailed on that show after the first season. But he apparently is aware of the impending accident that will leave him bound to a wheelchair and unable to speak. I don't know why he thinks that means he's going to die, because he doesn't die. So I don't know. I don't know all the details on that. But it's like this is the thing that is hanging over him, and it defines his whole character, and he's just kind of this mopey dude. And I just don't consider that depth. He's just a kind of a sadder version of Kirk. And look at this fucking hairdo. I mean, it's horrendous. It looks like a fucking geriatric tribble is sitting on his fucking forehead. Ugh. And I'm also not familiar with this version of Spock. Like I said, I punched out on Discovery after season 1. And I never really regretted it, because I was happy to miss scenes like this.
I like science.
And after watching him in a full episode, I can tell you that I officially hate this Spock. He is insufferable. And I don't want to disrespect any of the actors, but this is not Spock. This could maybe be a Spock in a porn parody of Star Trek, but it's not Spock in Star Trek. I'm just not buying it. And I wasn't a big fan of Zachary Quinto as Spock either, but even his Spock is better than this. I mean, it's just unwatchable. And I hate to be mean. I feel like I'm being mean, but I just don't know any other way to put it. I couldn't stand it. And this is a minor spoiler, but he's with T'Pring in this show, which is just ridiculous. I have no idea how this show can even pretend to fit neatly alongside the original series. Just stop pretending. Just admit that this is a reboot, because that's exactly what it is. There's all sorts of inconsistencies. Like the Prime Directive being this rigid thing that they have to adhere to. At this point in Star Trek lore, the Prime Directive was really pretty fast and loose. It wasn't what it became in TNG. And there's also a bunch of attempts at bad humor. At times, it feels like this show is really trying to be the Orville, except it's not even remotely funny. There's a whole sequence where Nurse Chapel, yeah, she's on this fucking show for some reason, makes zero sense. But she's here, and she's chasing a frightened alien around the ship because he's from a pre-warp society, and he's never seen people from other planets before. And she treats it like a fun game, almost like she mocks the whole situation. And, it's played entirely for like a laugh, except it's not funny. And Ohara, who is also on the show for some reason, ends up distracting him by talking to him about some weird sports from his home planet. And Chapel knocks him out with a hypo spray. I mean, it's just stupid. Why wouldn't you simply call security? Instead, she treated the whole thing like a game of hide and seek. It just seemed kind of mean-spirited. There's an episode of TNG called Homeward. It's a pretty good episode. And in that episode, an alien from a pre-warp society is mistakenly, he kind of wanders around the Enterprise, and he's scared and confused, and he's absolutely terrified. And I don't remember any TNG characters treating him or his fear like it was some kind of joke, like it was some kind of game. Maybe I'm being too sensitive, but little shit like this makes it feel less like Star Trek to me. I don't know how else to put it. It just feels like you could do that in another show, but in Star Trek it feels off to me. It feels childish. I don't know how else to say it. And they also introduced Lieutenant George Samuel Kirk, Jim Kirk's older brother, who isn't even supposed to be in Starfleet, but apparently we have to do anything we can to make this universe feel even smaller than it already is. I mean, every fucking character on this goddamn show has to either be a recognizable icon or related to a recognizable icon. The chief of security on the Enterprise is named Laanne Nooni Singh. She's a relative of Khan Nooni Singh, which is fucking ridiculous. Again, let's just make the universe as small as possible. Everyone is either a character you know or they're related to a character you know. And Singh is Khan's last name. Nooni is his middle name. So she somehow also has the same middle name as Khan. I guess her family is such a fan of this former dictator that they decided to name her after him, just to further associate her with him. It's fucking brain dead. I'm sorry, I'm getting heated, but it's just so stupid to me. I can't stand it. As far as the story goes, it's whatever. It's a generic Star Trek story. Nothing you haven't seen before 1,000 times, except stupider because it involves a society that is comparable to our own, developing warp technology. Again, brain dead. And that's it for me. I'm not going to watch any more of this show. It's going out of its way to trample the original series, and I can't deal with that. I just can't find anything redeemable in a show that does that. They'll never say it, but it's a reboot of the original series. But it's soulless, and it's empty, it's childish, and it's pointless. And Picard was torture enough for me. I just can't deal with any more of this shit. And the difference between CBS Star Trek and old Star Trek is that CBS Star Trek seems to be trying to make everyone feel instead of making them think. You know what I'm saying? Like old Star Trek made people feel by making them think. But new Star Trek wants to skip right over that. It takes the soap opera approach, melodrama combined with dog shit attempts at humor. That's what they go for. But there's no substance behind any of it. And I just think it sucks. A couple people have asked me for my thoughts on this show, so here you have it. I mean, that's really all I have to say about it. I'm not going to do a week-to-week review on it. I'm not even going to watch any more of it. Every time I watch an episode of new Star Trek, I feel like I become less of a fan of Star Trek in general. And it just sucks to feel that way about something that is my favorite thing. And it's not like I'm trying to hate Star Trek. I want to love it. I'm not one of those people that gets a kick out of shitting on things. That's not me. I have a lot to complain about, but that doesn't mean I'm enjoying complaining about it. Believe me. So I'm just kind of done with it. If I watched and reviewed every episode individually, it would just devolve into me ranting and raving like a lunatic week in and week out. Kind of like what I did with Picard, and I just didn't have fun with that. I think that would just kind of suck, and I'm just not in the mood to do it. Anyway, I'm just prattling on at this point. Anyway, that's what I think about this bullshit, and that's exactly what it is. It's bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. Hopefully my next video will be a lot more fun than this pity party. Until next time, take it easy.